Do you have any advice for people who dream of studying in the UK?
I'd like to encourage them that they would not just hang out with Korean people, but hang out with the international people there. The UK is very diverse, and Korean society is not as big as in the US, for example. And it's a big tendency and temptation to stick with these small, tight group of Korean people. But, UK is great in a way that it has so many different cultures in it, especially in London. So I recommend them to get out of their shells, stop watching Korean TV shows so often, and try to connect with Norwegians, Swedish, or Australian, so many different, like African. There are so many different people there, and it's so much to learn out there. Find your interests and fun factors from the country rather than going back to your comfort zone, because you're there and you're spending all this money to experience this.
First of all, thank you for accepting my interview. And can you introduce yourself?
My name is Grace Kim, and I'm a singer-songwriter, also an interpreter working in Korea right now.
Then can you introduce your background too?
I'm a born and raised Korean. Went to the UK in 2014, and I've spent 5 years there studying music, and then I came back just before COVID hit.
Then let's talk about the topic about life first. So my first question will be, do you have any biggest regret in your life?
Actually, I don't really have that much to regret, because I feel that not all the things that I've done is an optimal option. Or I could have chosen different things, but still I feel like I've done my best at the moment. So that's what's important. And if I go back, probably I would do the same, because it was my best. Whether I worked really hard or whether I had to take a break, it's just how life is, and I don't really regret.
Then if you can give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
My younger self has been very busy and obsessed with achieving the goals, achieving what I planned out, and I hope that I could tell her that you don't have to be exactly how you planned. You don't have to be excellent in everything. I had kind of a perfectionist mind at the time. I think I could relax a little bit.
That's cool. Then do you have any life lessons that you have learned in the UK?
Well, I always define myself as a person who's doing this and that. So whenever I'm planning my future, it was more like, I want to become this kind of musician, doing this and that kind of stuff. But what I realized is that when I went to the UK, nobody asked me what I do. Like, they were, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you like? Do you like this? What kind of food do you like? These are the things that they were interested in, but they were not necessarily interested in, so what do you do? So that kind of questions come much later when we get a bit closer, unless it's like an interview for jobs, right? So I realized that, they're interested in me as who I am, and I had very little idea who I am. I was like, oh my God, I don't know about myself, and I'm not interested in myself. And that's something that I really learned. I need to think about my life part a little bit more, and I need to identify myself as a person, not as an occupation. So that's, I think, the biggest takeaway that I got from the UK. And now I have a picture of myself. Whenever I'm planning something, it's not just like I want to do this, but I want to be that person in that kind of lifestyle, thinking and feeling these kind of stuff while doing that stuff. So that was, I think, the biggest takeaway.
Then UK make you think of who you were.
Yes.
Then in this modern society, so many statistics say that modern society people is very unhappy. So I want to ask to you, why do you think so many people in this modern society is unhappy?
I guess it depends on what kind of culture that they are in, and every culture is flawed. None of the cultures are perfect, and that includes Korean culture as well. And I think I can't speak for all cultures, but if I speak for Korean culture, I think it's so busy doing things that they have to do. It kind of connects with the things that I was saying. They don't have a chance or time to think about themselves and their life and how they want to lead and run their life. So they don't think about it enough, and inevitably it doesn't turn out as how they wanted, because they never thought about what they want. It's another thing that I feel, especially from Korea, is that it's really hard to trust somebody. I feel at workplaces or whatnot, even among friends, they feel like they're open to the possibility of the other person hurting me or damaging me. Like, oh, that colleague can totally do me harm and throw me certain words that I don't have to do, or say things that they don't have to say to hurt me. So they're always kind of, in a way, cautious and alerted about relationship around them, which is actually really sad. So what I mean by trust is that kind of unconditional trust about humankind. Like, for example, I feel that you don't have any harmful, ill intention for me. That's why I'm interviewing with you, right? But so many times in Korea, I feel that they want to decipher what you'll say and decipher what you're doing and try to figure out what harmful strategy or ill intention that the other person has, which is extremely stressful. And that is probably as a result of previous hurts, right? Previous hurts and scars that they thought that it would be all kind of rainbows and butterflies, and it was not like that. And they want to be, more defensive. And when being defensive is defined as being smart, I think the society has a problem, because being defensive cannot be smart. It blinds you so much from getting relaxed and looking at the big picture and actually doing something for the society and for your relationships. And yeah, so many times I feel that they're so busy protecting themselves, which is apparent in subways, apparent in buses, apparent in workplaces, and yeah, even they don't trust friends, but they want to have somebody. That's why they have friends. Like, it's all very sad in a way. Yeah, I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but I see that quite often, and which is kind of saddening.
That's cool. Then what do you think is undervalued in this modern society?
This also varies by the culture and countries. I think in the UK, what's undervalued is stability. For Korean society, I feel that having a rest or a relaxation of any kind is very undervalued. I also feel very guilty at times when I'm taking rest, not doing work. But, taking rest is sometimes the best thing that you can do. And I realize that I need to practice taking a rest, because I'm born and raised Korean. I was trained to work hard all the time and do everything efficiently, which is really good for working. But I needed to relearn how to take a rest, how to relax, and how to, treat myself. So that's something that Korea could do better.
That's cool. Then, is there anything that you prioritize and you're younger, but as you got older, you think it's not prioritized?
I think I didn't realize how long life can be. So I went to the UK in the middle of my 20s, and before that, all my experience was in Korea. And I was certain that certain things need to be done at a certain age. And the UK totally broke that frame for me, that you can study your doctorate when you're like 70s. I've seen so many different people doing so many different things outside that kind of framework. And I think I was very caught up with that frame that, oh, I am at this age, so I should be doing this. And also I was very ambitious, that I thought that I should be doing things ahead of other people. And now I realize that it led me to so many different experiences, and I have a variety of skill sets, and which is good. But I'm still starting new things now. And I didn't realize that I would be doing this. I thought my life in 30s would be stable and I'll be just developing what I've done in 20s, and it's not like that, and I don't want to be like that now. So I realized that there's no set textbook or answers for life in general. Everybody lives differently. So yeah, I think that kind of ambition to live to the correct age things.
That's important. I also got some pressure by that too.
Yeah.
Then let's go to the next chapter, like career. So first of all, what is your major?
So I did my bachelor's in pop music piano, and I did my master's in vocal performance.
Why did you choose the major?
I studied music from very early on. I studied classical music, and I went to the Korean University for classical music composition, and I realized that, I want to do pop music actually. That's why I did classical music. I want to do pop music better. Then I realized that, I shouldn't be studying classical. I should be studying pop. That's why I thought about actually going overseas and actually studying pop from the country that, pop is really famous from.
Then would you recommend that major to others?
Sure, why not? But I want to make sure that it's not all that very dramatic and exciting. I want to point that out, that the dramatic and exciting romantic stuff on stage and having fans, all that is there, but it's kind of about 30%. And 70% of that consists of practicing really hard every day and networking with so many other people, emailing to pluggers and gig holders, and sitting in front of your laptop arranging songs and recording. So yeah, you need to have the right expectation. So yeah, that's one thing.
That's cool. Then sometimes when people meet someone who is majoring in music, they say that, oh, when you do major in music, only very few elites can be success, and most of them can't be success and failed, and they think they can't get a job or they can't live on their major. When you listen about this sentence or this perception, how do you think about this perception?
You need to define what success is. And sometimes, especially in music or arts or any sort of art form, they feel that success is that they earn billions of dollars, or their music, when they search it, they have millions of views. But sometimes success is not like that. If we think about a programmer, we wouldn't say that the programmer is not successful because that person is not earning $1 million, right? We want to say that, he has a stable jobs, he has a stable income, and he knows where he's going, he has a direction in his life, and he has family, all that kind of stuff makes him successful, right? But when it comes to performing art, people often think that they need to be mega successful to be successful, right? So I think they need to define success differently, also same as other occupations too. I see a lot of musicians in the UK working as an artist slash teacher, or artist slash venue owner or barista, or even some people are really well endowed professors and in different field and still working as an artist, but they can make money out of it and they can live off of it. I think that's good enough.
It's very important idea, I think. Then let's go to the next question. Where did you attend to your elementary, middle, high school, and university?
I'm born and raised Korean, so I went to the Korean elementary, middle, high schools, but I dropped out of the high school and I studied for the university and went into the university. Then again, I didn't finish the university. I went to the UK right away. So basically, I graduated the Korean middle school, then British university onward.
Then you didn't graduate Korea high school and Korea university?
No.
Then out of our countries, why do you choose go to UK university?
It's a very musical choice because the US is the obvious choice for many people, but US curriculum in general for music is very jazz-based or classical based, and I wanted to do pop music. I didn't want to go into jazz specifically, and I looked through the UK curriculums in general, and they were not necessarily based on jazz theory. So I went there, but somehow I ended up doing jazz fusion music. So you don't know life.
That's cool. Then is there anything difference between Korea and UK education culture?
Because I experienced the Korean university and the British university, I can compare these two. What I learned and what I did for Korean university was doing what professor wanted me to do. Even I was composing music and I had to show it to my professor. My professor would point out things that I need to change, and I would change those as he wanted. That was the process. I was always instructed, but in the UK, when I first went in and realized that one of the courses was there was no guidance. You need to find a project, you need to find what you want to do, and you will present and we will mark. And I was like, what is that? what do you want? Is there no expectation or no specific guideline? And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I couldn't think of anything. While I noticed that so many other people around me already have ideas oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. I was like, oh, I've never done that. So that's one thing that I realized very different, and it was very connected to the career path. Well, I can't really compare because the Korean one was classical music and this is popular music, but the specific school I went, they had many courses that's more applicable for my career as a musician. So they would teach things like taxing, they would teach things like making a document or drawing a contract, that kind of stuff. I was not being taught about anything that practical in Korean university. I only learned music, so that's another difference.
Then what is the perceptions of musicians in the UK?
For general public, it's really interesting because in Korea, so many people go to 노래방 and karaoke. They don't have to think that they're good enough, but they just sing a song. They can sing a song. It's kind of a common thing that they do. But in the UK, people never sang. They have never sung in their life, many of them. So for general public, if I say, oh, I sing, then they would be like, oh my god, you're so talented. You know?
Really?
It's a completely different kind of vibe. But then again, when you go into the music scene, you see a lot of talented people. So yeah, that was interesting for me.
That is really different from Korea and UK. Then, do you think that the students in the UK are also worried about their job?
They are worried about their jobs, but I don't think they're desperate about their jobs. I think there are difference, and people just take a gap year. They want to go on traveling, and they can try this thing, and then later different things. You know, they're a little bit more relaxed about it, but still they worry about it.
Then in UK, gap year is very general to all the students.
Yes, I guess it's common. Not everybody takes a gap year, but it's very common, especially with all the EU being around. It's just easy to travel. And I didn't go through their A-level necessarily, so I can't speak for them. But what I felt is that they already did their major during their A-level, which is high school. And after that, they decide what to do for the university again. And I realized that in between that, they want to try different things or try different occupation or just having a break from studying or traveling. You know, I guess it makes sense in that kind of timeline.
Then, like in Korea, when we get like gap year, students in Korea worried about I need to justify what did I do in my gap year to the company. So I just want to ask: is there no pressure in the UK students for like justify what did they do on the gap year for the resume or CV to the company?
Well, gap year isn't a blank. So what you say about the gap year is what matters, I think. If you learn things all the time. If you learn certain things during your gap year, you can mention that. And also, taking a gap year is not as big as deal in the UK. That also helps. But you know, if you say that, oh, I was working at this cafe for a year for my gap year, and then you can go about it like, so I got to meet customers and I could see their needs, and it was really helpful for me to experience the sales part of it or manufacture part of it, or I could see how a company runs as an organism. There are so many good things that you can draw out of that experience. It's like traveling as well. You experience so many different kind of cultures, and I learned that the world is much bigger, and I can now deal with different people, different customers and clients from different cultures. You know, you can draw out things from that, and that's actually helpful for yourself too. But when people think that gap year is not helpful for your resume, that means that they feel that there's nothing coming out of that time, which is actually a lie. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Let's go to the next questions. Then, do you have any advice for people who dream of studying in the UK?
I'd like to encourage them that they would not just hang out with Korean people, but hang out with the international people there. The UK is very diverse, and Korean society is not as big as in the US, for example. And it's a big tendency and temptation to stick with these small, tight group of Korean people. But, you know, UK is great in a way that it has so many different cultures in it, especially in London. So I recommend them to get out of their shells, stop watching Korean TV shows so often, and try to connect with Norwegians, Swedish, or you know, or Australian, you know, so many different, like African. There are so many different people there, and it's so much to learn out there. Find your interests and fun factors from the country, not rather than going back to your comfort zone, because you're there and you're spending all this money to experience this.
Don't you have worried about something before you go to the UK?
I guess when I first went to the UK, my English wasn't that good, so that wasn't a worry. Another thing was that I knew that the culture would be very different, and at the time, the UK culture was not really accessible in Korea. It was not as famous as American culture, so the fear of uncertainty was definitely there, but it was only my problem. They had no problem with me, and I didn't know that. I thought that they would have a problem with me, like because I'm Asian, because I'm a girl, because my English is not good, whatever. And I realized that they had no problem, but I thought that they would have a problem with me. And this actually relates to a lot of questions about, am I discriminated as an Asian person too? Because sometimes you can be so self-conscious. There are apparent discriminations out there, yes, but you need to really have that self-esteem that I am not problematic. Sometimes when they go out and go to another culture, they realize that, oh, maybe I'm the problem. I'm not good enough. I'm not speaking Chinese well enough, you know, all that. But you know, they might not have problem with you.
That's very good point. Then is there like anything about the UK that you didn't know before you went there, but you've learned since you've been there?
Yes. Well, I knew that the UK, the United Kingdom, is a very gentleman culture. People are very posh and well behaved. Manners maketh man, all that kind of stuff. But I realized that I think it's like 2 years in or something. Realized that they do a lot of gossiping. Yeah. I mean, I can say this a little bit confidently because all British people would agree that they are gossiping. Yeah, it's a big culture, but I wouldn't be too worried about it before going there because they will be still nice to you. But it's
It's different.
the thing is though, the reason they gossip is not to minimize you or get you out of their social circle or whatnot, but it's more about the behaviors and the things that you say not fitting to their norm. And I know gossiping is a terrible thing, but what I appreciated in that was that they would say things like, oh, that person did this and that, and I don't think that's really right. I think this is right. That kind of stuff makes that social group to behave that way. And it's a way of forming the norm and forming the culture for them. And I realized that this activity of forming the culture is so important for them, and that keeps them safe. It's also connecting to the safety that I was talking about because they're always communicating, oh, this is not good, this is good. They kind of modify each other's behavior that way. So that's the role that the gossiping culture is playing in the UK, as long as I observed. Yeah, but it's good to know that, when someone is so nice to you, you don't have to think that, oh, that person is so genuine and this country is so genuine. It might not be like that.
That's cool.
No, I'm saying that it's another human society. Don't romanticize it. That's what I'm saying.
Like foreigner think about K-drama.
Exactly.
Yes.
Vice versa.
Okay, that's cool. Then, is there any advice you would give to someone who is thinking about living in United Kingdom?
Take care of your visa. Visa is very difficult in the UK. Yeah, if you're going there as a student, it's really hard to renew your visa as an employee. So just think about it when you go there that the student visa time would not necessarily help you settling down there. So many people think that they are there for as a student and they really like, oh, this is such a good country, I want to live here forever, but they often fail to make it. And I think it's a little bit harder than in the US. They want to make sure that you complete your visa and you're out.
That's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Then, in common, how do you think the student pay for rent fee?
Generally, it really depends on the area. For example, what I was paying in Liverpool, I was living in at the end, a 2-bedroom flat, and we pay weekly, and 4 weeks rent in Liverpool was 1 week in London for just one small room with bed and then nothing. So I can't really say generally, but if you're outside London, you would not have much problem paying for your rent, even if you're just working part-time. But if you're inside London, that's a problem.
Then, how much do you also pay for your tuition fee?
I think tuition fee, you should consider double of the Korean tuition fee and then double it for the US tuition fee.
Okay, I understand. Then, some food is also expensive, do you think?
Food is actually very good. Everything is very cheap, especially when things are not processed yet. Things are very cheap. Meat, fruits, vegetables, everything is very accessible. I miss buying blueberries for £3 or £1 big chunk. I really miss that. It's really cheap if you're cooking, but if you want to buy things that are already processed, it's a little bit more expensive.
Okay, then let's go to another question. Not just UK. Is there any advice you would give someone who is thinking about living in another countries, not Korea or not their countries?
I think it's the same advice as what I said before. Try to connect with what you have over there. Try not to look back on what you feel comfortable about in Korea, and be prepared to take on an adventure. Then you would get a lot of things very useful for your life. And also, it's okay to be timid. It's okay to be who we are. It just you shouldn't feel sorry about who we are. That's one thing that I constantly felt when I was there speaking with other Korean people, because they feel like, oh, my English should be much better and I should be more extroverted, I should be doing more networking, and I shouldn't feel this way. Sometimes I shouldn't feel this lonely. I should be going out there doing so many works, and I should study this more, but I'm not doing it. It's, so much about your own resentment actually tires you a lot. It exhausts you just by thinking that and processing that kind of emotion. And that is a vicious cycle, that you are tired of all these emotions and thoughts. That's why you can't do more and you feel less about yourself and you feel, down, and all that kind of cycle is very common, I think. So be okay about yourself.
Then what do you do for a living now?
I'm an interpreter, an English-Korean interpreter. Also, I'm a musician. I am producing Christian music right now. I used to be an R&B jazz musician, but that's what I do.
Then what is the best part of your job?
The best part of being an interpreter is that I can see how I'm helping other people and I can see the effectiveness right away. For example, if I'm translating for a meeting between a distributor or a manufacturer or different kind of clients, I realize that if I'm not there, if I'm not doing my job well, their business is kind of doomed in a way. Like, I should really do this job well, but then again, because I'm doing this job to my best, they're benefited by what I do, and that's a great feeling of achievement, and I do feel that I'm contributing to society. Some of the cases I translated for adoptee family and coming to Korea and visiting their birth parents. Those kind of things can't be done by AI, really. You need to understand the emotional and contextual foundation, and you want to make sure that what they need to communicate is communicated. And when you do these kind of things, you realize that, your job is so meaningful and it's actually making a difference to their lives. They are connecting the dots that they really wanted to connect for their entire life, So I think all jobs are contributing to other people in a way, but interpretation, I feel that much more.
Then compared to that, what is the worst part of your job?
My worst part, the worst part of the job is that I'm using a lot of brain power. I'm exhausted after each day, so I need to take enough rest. But also, hourly payment can be good.
Then have you had any experiences in the UK that made you feel like, the world is very huge?
Yes. The UK is a perfect country to feel that, because it's so diverse, especially in London. If you were in Scotland or Ireland, you might not feel, you still feel that, but not as big as in London. You realize that all culture is in there. I was blessed enough to visit different sort of churches as well, that there are African cultural churches, there are very white churches, Anglican churches, Catholic churches, and you see Korean immigrant churches, Japanese churches, Jewish churches. So many different kind of churches are there. That means that so many different kinds of people are there. And I got to experience so many different communities like that, and I realized that, oh wow, that is so cool. And especially when you're experiencing in a similar format like a church, you realize that, church is really big. If you experience that at a school, you realize that, the whole education of this society and this humankind, the endeavor to pass on that information and knowledge is like a huge deal, rather than just this person teaching me this, right? So yeah, it was really fun.
That's cool. Then how many languages can you speak?
I can speak English and Korean, survival level of Japanese.
Oh, really? Then I think in Asian country, so many people is good at listening but not good at speaking. So what is the reason about that, do you think?
They don't have an opportunity to speak, and you need to be able to speak a daily basis or weekly basis to speak in English. I see a lot of people who can speak English now because they went to international schools, because they go to an international hagwon or whatnot. It's definitely helpful to have an outlet that they can speak the language, and the European people speak English generally pretty well. I realize that because they travel so often and they're so connected to each other, they have a lot of chances to speak English. That's, I think, the only difference.
Then how did you improve your English speaking ability?
Well, I've spent about 6 months before going into my university at an English institution in London, because I heard that so many people spend 6 months to 1 year of the first, university time, and that becomes a waste because they can't understand the language. And I realized, okay, I should study first so that I would lose less. And that was definitely helpful. Another thing that helped me greatly was staying at a homestay family. I had a privilege to stay with a very English and also very Scouse Liverpool person, a couple, and their accent was very posh. It was really helpful. Another thing for me personally was that I needed to do gigs. I needed to be on stage, and music and singing I can practice and memorize, but I need to speak in between. If I can't grasp the attention of the audience in between, they wouldn't listen to my songs. So I kind of had to practice speaking a lot more.
Then let's go to the next chapter about society. So, what kind of country do you think Korea is?
Perfectionism is a thing, I think, but not in the way that they want to perfect what they do, but in the way that they need to choose the perfect option or follow the textbook options, or there is a certain way of living life that is right. I mean, all countries has that, but I think Korea has a lot more definite answer to life. And sometimes that's helpful, sometimes that's not helpful.
Then, as a Korean, how do you want Korean will be changed?
I wish Korea were a lot more relaxed, for sure. I hope that Korea would become a society that values taking a break, values taking a rest, taking care of themselves. I mean, there has been key words like well-being or healing or what about work and life balance, that kind of stuff are out there, and that evidently shows that Korean people want that kind of relaxation. But often what I see is that for well-being, they do a bunch of things for that. Like they find organic food and they find this and that stuff to do. Healing, same thing. You want to go to the healing spots. You use research for the spots, and you want to do healing activities. And working and life balance is also, it's a very interesting thing for Korea to think that it's going to find their hobby and going on a one-day class that's working and life balance. But essentially you're working different things. And I hope that Korea would change in their perception, in our perception, I'm Korean too, that just doing nothing is okay and spending time is okay, just spending time. Actually, beyond that, I hope that people would find the value in just letting things go and letting the time pass. Unless we value that, we would constantly feel that we're in a strut, we're in a rut, we're just going around cycle all the time. We're so busy, we don't have any moment to take care of ourselves, and we would feel very sad deep down. Yeah.
In your experience, how are Koreans or Asians perceived in the UK?
When I first went to the UK, this was 10 years ago, they told me that they drive a Kia, and they would say that, is that north or south? But now K-pop and everything is so everywhere, and it's finally in the UK you can find Korean food everywhere. You can find gochujang wings, weird things like that. I think the perception has changed, but still what they think is that they are obedient and timid. And I it was only once or twice, but I heard this question, don't be so Asian. That meant don't be so timid, and you should do things with more courage. I guess that's the perception.
Then, do you know the word bamboo selling?
Selling?
Yes, like bamboo.
Glass?
Yes, glass selling. Then, in your experience, is there a really glass selling for Asians in the UK?
It's hard to say because I know certain areas or certain countries have a very solid ceiling for certain groups of people, but I feel the UK is pretty relaxed in that. For instance, nobody would say that, oh, that person is Asian and doing that. Nobody would say that, right? But still, when I was working as a musician, as a featured artist or producers, whatnot, as I was going up the ladder in a way, like surviving in the scene, I could see less and less Asian people. Then again, a little while later, I could see less and less female people, unless they're singers. There are certain probability that female musicians don't last long in this field. But I don't think that's necessarily because the scene is not welcoming females or Asian people, but it's just something that happens. I can't really explain, but I've never felt that they are blocking me because I'm an Asian. There's more to the fact that I'm female and their expectation where I would be more creative, I would be more performance oriented rather than hands-on producers. It's just that they have never experienced that many female producers like that. But for Asians, I don't think so. Especially because music, Asian people are doing great. They are like so much better sometimes technically than British people.
That's cool. Then my next question will be, why did you move back to the Korea?
My visa ran out, and also I really wanted to stay there, and I was going for a prospective artist visa. That was my goal for the whole time I was there, but at the end the plan didn't work out. With the sponsorship I received from my institution and what they had as an expectation of me, all sorts of different misunderstandings, and I couldn't make it at the end. Then again, I applied for working holiday visa. It didn't work out either, but I was grateful because right after that the COVID hit and all the concerts and performing stuff just stopped. So I was like, oh, even if I was there, I probably wouldn't have been able to do anything. So yeah, that's the story.
Then do you think it's hard for getting a visa in the UK?
Getting a visa is not too difficult, especially if you're students. It's so easy. Working holiday, it's often easy because the competition is low. I think I was a very unfortunate case, but usually it's okay. Entering the country is easy. Staying there is hard.
Like permanent living or
Permanent.
citizen?
Yes, permanent visa or citizenship is actually very, very hard. You should be, at least like 1.5 generation to be thinking of that. Or you could, if you found a really good company that would sponsor you for like 5 years, 10 years, you can totally get that visa. But UK in general, the companies are not generous in issuing visas for non-European country people. European countries get it much more easily.
That's cool. Then sometimes in the US, people say when they married with the citizen, they also get a visa. Is it same with the UK?
I believe so. You can get a spouse visa. Sometimes you can actually apply for spouse visa for not even getting married, but for living with the person for a long time. If you can prove that you have been living together for a long time, you can apply for it. That doesn't guarantee that you get it, but still there are ways like that.
Then is there any difference about dating culture between Korea and the UK?
Initially, I thought that it was very drastically different, and then I realized that Korea has become similar. So I would like to say it's similar, but in the Britain the rules are more clear.
Sometimes I can reason that UK or like European culture is very open to cheating or ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend. Do you agree about that?
European culture in general is more open, yes, but the British culture is not. So among all the European countries, I think that Britain is one of the countries that are more conservative.
It's very interesting. Then in Korea, as you know, I think people in Korea are not doing marriage in this modern society. They don't want to born the baby or they don't want to get married. So I want to ask to you about what is the perception of the marriage in the UK, do you think?
They don't have specific perceptions. If they want to get married, they get married. If they don't, they don't. If they want to have children, they have children. If they don't, they don't. I think so, at least my generation. And it is very clear that these things should not be forced.
Then are you get married?
I got married, yes.
Then in your experience, what does a marriage mean to you?
The married life for me is a safe refuge, and it's somewhere that I have a constant friend, and he's a good advisor, he's a good supporter. I see a lot of good things about marriage.
Then why do you think young people in Korea don't get married in this society?
I'm not the best person to answer this because I have so many people getting married around me and having babies around me, so I'm in a very special, very specific community. But I feel that they are looking for a perfect situation, perfect assets, perfect criterias when they think about getting married, I think. And it's connecting with that perfectionism I was talking about. But I feel that getting married is not finding the perfect person, but the marriage, the whole journey is getting there together. So you find somebody that you can walk that journey together and grow together, holding hands, rather than find the person who is already done, like perfect. And nobody's perfect. So I think the premise of finding somebody who's perfect is already flawed, and you expect that, I did my research, I did my looking around, and this person is great, and I got married, and then you start to see their flaws and realize that that was not my best choice. It's actually the premise is wrong. So the people who are not getting married for good reasons, like financial reasons and whatnot, you can get there getting married. You can get there as a married couple as well. So yeah, I think there's that. But also there are practical difficulties that they go through, and I totally understand. I am struggling too.
That's cool. Then this will be my final question of this interview. If you can give one piece of advice about relationship to some young people, then what would it be?
I think having a relationship and dating is in general a way of finding out who you are. If that's in our mind, we can be more kind to ourselves. We can be more observant of what's going on. If dating somebody is to find somebody who would love me unconditionally, it would always be disappointing. If you're finding out who you are with this person, and like this is an external stimulus, this external factor that's come into my life, and it's a great chance to figure out who I am and what kind of person I am. And if you think about it that way, you would grow in a relationship, and also that would grow the other person as well. Even if it doesn't work out, but you two grew together a lot, and that's what matters. And you would do better next time. I think that should eliminate the pressure.
Then can I ask just one more question? Do you think is there any difference about beauty standards in the UK and Korea?
As a beauty standard where you feel you're beautiful enough, I don't really see that many people being outside, entering a restaurant, looking at the mirror and then doing, and actually one of the Canadian friend came to Korea and spotted that, and they were like, why are they looking at themselves before eating? And things like that is a very small example that they care about how they are viewed by other people constantly. That's, I think, another stress point that we have. And I don't know if you're not looking perfect, what happens? People might speak, that person doesn't even care. No. What does that mean? There's a lot to think about in this matter. I think it's just that people are not given the opportunity to think about it.
That's cool. Then my question is finished. And do you have any more extra thing that you want to say? Nothing?
No. I
Let's-
think I spoke a lot today. Thank you for interviewing me.
Me too. Then let's finish this interview. Thank you.